Hi friends, good morning. Today's topic is in History Unit 4, Intellectual Awakening and Socio-Political Changes. What is intellectual? It's an intelligent work or mental work or mind. It's awakening and social political changes. Learning objectives. To understand the transition of society from 6th century to 2nd century BCE, before Common Era. To familiarize ourselves with the essence of new religious faiths like Buddhism, Jainism and Ajivika in India, Zoroastrianism in Persia and Confucianism and Taoism in China. To become aware of the circumstances that led to the formation of states with a focus on Magadha Empire. To understand the socio-political changes of pre-Mauryan and Mauryan states. Now let us discuss about the introduction. A new civilization began to develop in northern India with the revival of trade and urbanization during the 6th century BC. In this period of major political and social changes in North India, Buddha and Mahavira were born. In the century following their death, Buddhism and Jainism took root as major religions in India. This meant that new religious orders were coming up with many followers, propagating new beliefs and philosophies. Similarly, Zoroastrianism in Persia and Confucianism and Taoism in China became popular during this period. Confucianism and Taoism. In the 6th century BCE, two great thinkers were born in China, Confucius and Lao Tse. Look at the map. Places associated with the intellectual awakening in 6th century BCE. It's in China. Look at the Laos, Thailand. Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia together we called as Indochina. And look at this in India. Buddhism it shows you. Nepal is also there. Look at Uzbekistan. Turkmenistan is the places. But in Iran it shows you the related one. Okay. Now look at about the Confucius. Confucius was born in the Shandong province of China in 551 BCE. He studied history, poetry, philosophy and music. He is the author of 5 important works. What are that? The Book of Records, the Book of Odes, the Book of Changes, the Spring and Autumn Annals and the Book of History, which narrating the events and legends of the early religions of China. Look at the 5 cardinal principles of Confucius, ethics, that is morals. Number 1, humanness. Number 2, righteousness. Number 3, propriety. Number 4, wisdom and trustworthiness. So according to him, it's not a merely intelligent or scholarly, but his character should be exemplary, that is perfect. The superior man of Confucius possesses 3 virtues: intelligence, courage and goodwill. Though Confucius insisted on children obeying parents and wife, her husband, he also clearly proposed that when the command is wrong, a son should resist his father and a minister should resist the prince. When asked about the government, he said that there are 3 requisites for it. There should be sufficiency of food, sufficiency of military equipment, and confidence of the people in their ruler. Now Taoism. Lao Tse, the greatest of the pre-Confucian philosophers, was 53 years older than the Confucius. So Lao Tse was born in 604 BCE. His book Tao Te Ching as a guide to the conduct of life. Teachings of Lao Tzu, that is Taoism. The cause of human unhappiness in the world is human selfishness. Selfishness creates unlimited human desires which can never be satisfied. In nature, all the things act in a natural way. The law of human conduct must correspond with the nature. Humans live a life under the regulation of someone. This is because they have acquired knowledge and have not remained innocent. On the basis of their acquired knowledge, they have built up an urban civilization and have made themselves unhappy. Zoroastrianism is one of the oldest of the revealed world religions. Zoroaster of Persia is the founder of Zoroastrianism. He was pained to find his people worshipping primitive deities, that is gods. The holy book of Zoroastrianism is Zend Avesta. The impact of iron technology in India. In the Gangetic Valley, people learned to produce crops more than that was required for their subsistence. So another section of people took up some professional crafts as their livelihood. Like the farmers, these craftsmen also had a rely on a group of people who collected raw materials and distributed the craft products. Now look at this. Religion. Post-Rig Vedic. 3 more Vedas. Apart from Rig Veda, it's a very oldest one used to call. 3 more Vedas are there. Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda. They were composed after the Rig Veda. Okay, oldest among the Vedas is Rig. Manuals of rituals called Brahmanas, with specifying the rhyming words to be sung, and 2 commentaries on certain Rig Vedic hymns called Aranyakas, containing the knowledge to be learned secretly in the forest, and the Upanishad, the teaching from the teachers they are getting without there is no doubt in them, were compiled in the upper Gangetic plain during 1000 to 600 BC, that is before Common Era. Now we are discussing about Jainism and Buddhism. In the Gangetic plain, iron plough agriculture required the use of bullocks, but the indiscriminate killing of cattle for Vedic rituals and sacrifices caused resentment. The founders of Jainism and Buddhism did not prescribe killing as a religious rite. They secured their livelihood mostly by alms. Celibacy, that is, it's a voluntary vow of a sexual abstinence, that is a practice of restraining oneself from indulging in something. Okay, so that is abstinence from holding property made the new teachers much more acceptable than the Brahmin priests. Now look at Jainism. It is given a part of Mahavira and Buddha lived a life of purity and exemplified simplicity and self-denial. So they lived in the times of Bimbisara and Ajatasattu, the famous kings of Magadha. The commercial development of the northern cities like Kaushambi, Kushinagara, Benares, Vaishali and Rajagriha, which added importance to the Vaishyas who turned to Buddhism and Jainism in their eagerness to improve the social status. Jainism. Mahavira, the birth and the life of the Mahavira. Vardhamana Mahavira. He was born in 599 BCE at Kundagrama near Vaishali. Vaishali, it is in Bihar. His mother was Trishala, a Lichavi princess. He spent his early life as a prince and was married to a princess named Yashoda. His wife name is Yashoda. The couple had a daughter, Yashoda and Vardhamana Mahavira. They had a daughter. At the age of 30, he left his home and became an ascetic. Asceticism means sannyasam, used to call, right? So ascetic. He lost his wonderful life, luxurious life, and for over 12 years, Mahavira wanders from place to place. Wanders means moved from one place to another place, subjecting himself to severe penance. So he had done a proper davam and self-mortification. So in the 13th year of his asceticism, he acquired the highest knowledge and came to be known as Jaina, that is the conqueror, and Mahavira, the great hero. So Rishabha, he was the first Tirthankara, and Parshvanath, the penultimate of the 23rd one. So here, this is a Mahavira one. Look at that. Mahavira travelled extensively as a preacher in the kingdoms of Magadha, Vidaha and Anga. Magadha rulers Bimbisara and Ajatashatru were influenced by his teaching. Thousands of people became his followers. After 30 years of preaching, Mahavira died at Pavapuri in 527 BCE at the age of 72. So this is a Mahavira's picture. Now teachings of Mahavira. Look at that. The Bahubali statue. The statue of Bahubali, known as Gomateshwara, 57 feet, at Shravana Belgola in Karnataka, is the tallest Jaina statue ever carved out in India. Bahubali statue. Now what are the teachings of Mahavira? The three principles of Jainism, also known as Three Ratnas, are the following: right faith, right knowledge and right action. What is right faith? Belief in the teachings and wisdoms of Mahavira. What is right knowledge? Acceptance of the theory that there is no God and that the world existed without a creator. Right action. It refers to the Mahavira observance of the 5 great oaths: ahimsa, honesty, kindness, truthfulness, and not coveting or desiring things belonging to the others, not to steal. A spread of Jainism. In order to spread his new faith, Mahavira founded monasteries, that is religious houses, buildings. The Jaina monks, who led a very austere life. Varna system practiced by Brahmins was challenged. They possess life and feel pain when they are injured. Split in Jainism. In course of time, Jainism split into 2 branches, namely Digambaras, that is sky-clad, naked, without dress we used to call, and the Swetambaras, white clothes alone they used to wear. Decline of Jainism. The lack of royal patronage, its severity, factionalism and spread of Buddhism led to the decline of Jainism in India. Jaina Kanchi. Jainism was one of the major faiths in the Tamil region during the 7th century AD. The Pallava king Mahendravarman was a Jain. Under the influence of Appa, he got converted to Saivism. Close to the present town of Kanchi, there is a place called Jaina Kanchi where you find many Jain temples. One of the important temples is at Tiruparathikundram temple, where the ceiling is painted with the life story of the Mahavira. Now talking about the Buddhism. Previously we have discussed about the Jainism, Mahavira. Now we are going to talk about the Buddhism, Gautama Buddha birth and life. Gautama Buddha was the son of Suddhodana, the chief of a Kshatriya clan of the Sakyas, that is descendant of the Lord Rama, Sakyas, of the Kapilavastu. In present day it is lying in the Nepal. His given name was Siddhartha. As he belonged to the Sakya clan, he was also known as Sakya Muni. He was born in 567 BC in Lumbini Garden near Kapilavastu. Kapilavastu is in Nepal. His mother, Maya Devi, died after a few days of his birth and he was brought up by his stepmother. In order to divert his attention towards the worldly affairs, his father got him married at the age of 16 to a princess called Yashodhara. He led a happy married life for some time and had a son by name Rahula. One evening, while Siddhartha was passing through the city, he came across an old man who had been abandoned by his relatives, a sick man crying with pain, and a dead body surrounded by weeping relatives. Siddhartha was deeply moved by these sights. So he also saw an ascetic who had renounced, that is, rejected the world and found no sign of sorrows. When he rejected the world, he is not finding a sad one. So these four great sights prompted him to renounce, reject the world and search for the cause of suffering. So here, the place where he attained the enlightenment. In course of time, his wanderings, he sat under a peepal tree for several days until he attained enlightenment. The place where he attained enlightenment, the Mahabodhi temple, still exists in Bodh Gaya, Bihar. After his enlightenment, Buddha decided to impart his knowledge to the people. He went to Varanasi and gave his first sermon at Sarnath. He preached in the kingdoms of Magadha and Kosala. Look at teachings of Buddhism. Four great truths are there. Teachings of Buddhism, four great truths. Attainment of Nirvana, the Noble Eightfold Path. The teachings of Buddhism. Four great truths. There is a suffering and sorrow in this world. Point number 2. The cause of human suffering is desire and craving. Point number 3. This pain or sorrow can be removed by suppressing desire and craving. Point number 4. This is to be achieved by leading a disciplined life or by following what Buddha called the Noble Eightfold Path. Look at that symbols of the great events of the Buddha's life. First session, Buddha's great departure, how he departed with the help of horse. Enlightenment, where he got that Bodhi tree, under the Bodhi peepal tree. Look at this now, attainment of Nirvana. According to Buddha, a person should aim at attainment of Nirvana, that is, without dress, or the highest bliss. And it could be achieved by any person by leading a virtuous life and by following the Noble Eightfold Path. What are the Noble Eightfold Path? Buddha preached a new path to attain the purest state of mind. Point number 1, right views, right aspirations, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right contemplations or meditation. Buddha preached that he who practices the Eightfold Path can attain the highest and purest state of mind. Spread of Buddhism. Buddhism spread to Central Asia, Sri Lanka, Tibet, Southeast Asia, as well as the eastern countries of China, Mongolia, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. The split in Buddhism. Buddhism was split into two, as the Hinayana and Mahayana. What is the Hinayana? The lesser vehicle was the original creed preached by the Buddha. The followers of this form regarded Buddha as their guru and did not worship him as a god. They denied idol worship and continued with the people's language, Pali language. That is Buddhism, Pali language. Look at that. When Buddha's closest disciple Ananda asked Buddha whether women can become monks, Buddha said yes. If women can follow the path of renunciation, they can become monks and completely enlightened just as men. So now the part of the Mahayana, the greater vehicle. Buddha was worshipped as God and Bodhisattva as his previous avatar. The followers made the images and statues of Buddha and Bodhisattva and offered the prayers and recited the hymns, mantras in their praise. Later, they wrote their religious books in Sanskrit. This form of Buddhism was patronized by Kanishka. Finally, what happened? Decline of the Buddhism. Buddhism declined in India due to the following reasons. It was popular in the beginning because it was preached in people's language, Pali. The later texts were written in Sanskrit, so it was very difficult to the people to understand. Then split in Buddhism to Hinayana and Mahayana was another vital reason. Image worship in Mahayana made no difference between the Hinduism and Buddhism. So Buddhism lost its royal patronage during the reign of Guptas. Further, the invasion of Huns and the Turks almost wiped out the Buddhism. The next point of view about the rise of kingdoms. Northern India extended from the Kabul Valley in the north to the Godavari in the south. It witnessed the rise of 16 states known as Mahajanapadas. Maha means great, Janapadas means foothold of the people. That is, the 16 great states. Mahajanapadas are otherwise called as the 16 great states like Khazi, Kosla, Anga, Magadha, Vajji, Malla, Chedi, Vatsa, Kuru, Panchala, Matsya, Surasena, Asaka, Avanti, Gandhara and Kamboja. The rise of the Magadha kingdoms. Of the kingdoms mentioned in the literature of the period, Kashi, Koshala and Magadha are considered to be very powerful ones. Bimbisara was the first important king of the Magadha. He succeeded in establishing a comprehensive structure of administration. Village was a basic unit of his administrative system. Apart from villages, village means gramas, gramam. So there were fields and pastures as well as wasteland and the forest. Pastures means aranya, khetra and vana. Vana means forest. Wasteland means khetra. So each village was brought under a Gramani. Gramani means headman. Village panchayat leader will be there, right? The headman who was responsible for collecting the taxes and remitting them to the state treasury. Land tax, Bali, was the main source of revenue to the kingdom and the share to the produce, Bhaga, was determined. Look at that. Iron plough. Agriculture led to the rise of empires. Assyrian in Iran and Magadha in India. Now, Ajatashatru, the son of the Bimbisara, is said to have murdered his father and ascended the throne in 493 BCE. He continued his father's policy of expansion through the military conquest. Ajatashatru, who strengthened the Rajagraha fort and also built another fort at Pataligrama on the Ganges. Ajatashatru died in 461 BCE, before Common Era, and he was succeeded by 5 kings. All of them followed the example of Ajatashatru by ascending the throne by killing their parent. Fed up with such recurring instances, people of Magadha appointed the last ruler's viceroy Shishunaga as the king. After the ruling nearly for half a century, the Shishunaga dynasty lost the kingdom to Mahapadma Nanda, who founded the Nanda dynasty. The Nandas were the first of non-Kshatriya dynasties to rule in the northern India. Now look at the Mauryan Empire, state and society. Mauryan kings. Vishnugupta, who was later known as Chanakya or Kautilya, fell out with the Nanda king and vowed to dethrone him. Chandragupta, perhaps inspired by Alexander of Macedonia, and he was raising an army and looking for opportunities to establish a kingdom of his own. On hearing the news of Alexander's death, Chandragupta stirred up the people and with their help drove away Greek garrison that Alexander had left at Taxila. Then he and his allies marched to Pataliputra and defeated the Nanda king in 321 BC. Thus began the reign of the Mauryan dynasty. According to Jaina tradition, towards the end of his life, Chandragupta, who had by now become an ardent follower of Jainism, who abdicated his throne in favor of his son Bindusara. Bindusara, during his rule, succeeded in extending the Mauryan Empire up to Karnataka. At the time of his death, a large part of the subcontinent had come under Mauryan suzerainty. Ashoka succeeded Bindusara in 268 BCE. Ashoka became, what happened? Ashoka, he became an ardent Buddhist after meeting the Buddhist monk Upagupta and propounded his Dharma. The only true conquest, he proclaimed, is the conquest of self and the conquest of men's hearts by the Dhamma, that is Pali or Dharma we call as in Sanskrit. He issued edicts, that is order, which were carved out in the rock. Look at this. There are 33 edicts, including 14 major rock edicts, 7 pillar edicts, and 2 Kalinga edicts. Apart from minor rock edicts and minor pillar inscriptions, they form the reliable sources to know about the Mauryan Empire, in particular the dharmic rule of Ashoka. In one of his Kalinga edicts, he tells us his horror and sorrow over the deaths which the war and conquest caused. In it, another edict, he makes it known that Ashoka would not tolerate any longer the death or captivity of even 100th or 1000th part of the number killed and made captive in Kalinga. Look at that Kalinga Ashoka pillar, Allahabad. Ashoka's passion for protecting the life extended to animals as well. Hospitals were constructed for them and animal sacrifice was forbidden. Ashoka sent his son Mahendra and his daughter Sanghamitra to Ceylon to spread his message of Dharma there. Ashoka died after ruling for 30 years. Our national emblem with 4 lions is a replica. It's a model of the Ashoka pillar of Sarnath. Look at this. This is a symbol, the Ashoka pillar. Mauryan administration. The Mauryan state in its early years undertook some measures that were positive for the development of society. The state raised taxes to finance a huge standing army and a vast bureaucracy. That is, a system of government in which most of the important decisions are taken by the state officials rather than the elected representatives. Look at that Chandragupta's minister. Chanakya is credited with a book titled Arthashastra, which gives a detailed account of the Mauryan administration. Look at the educational centers. Monasteries, that is religious house or buildings we call, and temples served the purpose of imparting education. Nalanda was a great monastery built by the Magadha Empire. Educational centers offered Buddhist and Vedic literature, logic, grammar, medicine, philosophy and astronomy. Even the science of war was taught. Nalanda became the most renowned seat of learning in course of time. So it was supported by the revenues of 100 villages. No fees were charged to the students and they were provided free board and lodging. This is a university, Nalanda University, where they started to teach the free education to the people. Now look at the recap. 6th century BCE was a period of material, cultural and intellectual development. Confucius ethics in China and Zoroastrian religion in Persia, Mahavira's 3 Ratnas and Buddha's 8-fold path in India created a new awakening and provided a moral code of conduct to humanity. 6th century BCE was also a period that witnessed the rise of Mahajanapadas. The 16 such chieftains or listed with the focus on Magadha as a powerful kingdom. The Mauryan dynasty was founded by Chandragupta Maurya with the aid of Chanakya. The Mauryan administration and the greatness of the Ashoka with a particular reference to his Dhamma is highlighted. Dhamma means Dharma in Sanskrit. So please go through the lessons carefully, my dears. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.